I bought a $5 mirror from a thrift store, and honestly, it looked exactly like what it was: cheap, sad, and forgettable. But I turned it into something so good that 3 people asked me which store I bought it from. And when I told them I made it, they did not believe me. If you have ever looked at a plain mirror and thought this could be so much more, you're in the right place, because today I am showing you exactly how I did it, step by step, with real numbers, real products, and zero fluff. Before we go any further, if you are into budget home upgrades that actually look expensive, subscribe right now and hit the bell so you never miss a video. And stay with me until the very end of this one, because I am sharing the one finishing trick that completely transforms the whole look, and most people skip it, which is exactly why their DIY mirrors still look like DIY mirrors. What makes a mirror a statement piece? Let us get into the mindset first, because this matters. A plain mirror does one job. It reflects. A statement mirror does something extra. It commands attention before you even look into it. The frame, the finish, the scale, and the placement all work together to make the mirror feel intentional, like it belongs in a curated space rather than a college dorm bathroom. In 2026, the biggest interior design trend is what designers are calling quiet luxury with a handmade soul. That means pieces that look high-end but have texture, warmth, and character. A perfectly framed mirror hits every single one of those notes, and you can pull it off for almost nothing if you know what you are doing. What you will need. Here's the full supply list, and I am going to be completely honest about costs, because I hate when creators pretend things are cheaper than they are. You will need one plain flat mirror. Mine was a 16 by 20-inch frameless mirror from a thrift store, and it cost me $5. You will need wood trim molding. I used a simple cove and bead profile from the hardware store, and for my size mirror, I bought about 8 feet of it for around $6. You will need a tube of mirror-safe construction adhesive or 100% silicone, and this is important. Do not use regular wood glue where the wood meets the glass, because it simply will not bond and your frame will fall apart. You will also want a small bottle of regular wood glue, but that is only for where the wood corners meet each other, not the glass. You will need sandpaper in 120 and 220 grit. You will need a miter box and handsaw, or a miter saw if you have access to one. The miter box set me back $10, but you can borrow one or find it at a tool lending library. You will need your choice of paint or stain. I used a spray paint in aged bronze finish, which cost $7. You will need a small foam roller or brush if you go the paint route. You will need heavy-duty adhesive mirror hangers or deering hangers with a backing board, more on why in a moment. You will need painter's tape and a drop cloth or old newspaper. Grand total for me was right around $32, and if you already own some of these supplies it will be even less. Measuring and cutting your frame. This is the step most people rush, and it is the step that makes or breaks the whole project, so slow down here. Lay your mirror flat on a table and measure each side. Write those measurements down. Now, when you cut your molding, you are going to be cutting 45-degree miter angles at each corner so the pieces meet cleanly like a picture frame. Here is the key rule. Measure so that each piece of molding sits slightly on top of the mirror's outer edge. This hides the raw edge of the glass and gives the frame something solid to grip onto. Cut your 4 pieces, 2 for the long sides and 2 for the short sides. Before you glue anything, do a dry fit first. Lay all 4 pieces around your mirror and check that the corners meet cleanly with no gaps. If there is a small gap, do not panic. A tiny bit of wood filler or a dab of paintable caulk will make it invisible once it is painted over. The dry fit step is non-negotiable. Do not skip it. Sanding and painting your frame pieces before assembly. Once your cuts look good, sand all 4 pieces with your 120 grit sandpaper to knock off any rough edges. Then follow up with the 220 grit for a smooth finish. Run your fingers along every edge. If it catches your skin, sand it more. Now here is a pro tip that will save you a serious headache. Paint or stain your wood pieces right now, before they ever touch the glass. If you spray paint after the frame is already glued to the mirror, you will coat your entire glass surface in paint, and that is a disaster that painter's tape alone cannot fully prevent. Paint the pieces while they are separate, and you will get a cleaner, more even finish anyway. I went with the aged bronze spray paint. Hold the can about 12 inches from the surface. Use light, even sweeping passes. Never stop the spray while pointing directly at the piece, and apply 3 thin coats, letting each one dry for about 20 minutes before the next. Multiple thin coats will always beat one thick coat. For a more layered, expensive look, try this after your base coat dries. Lightly dry brush a slightly lighter or darker coordinating color over the raised edges of the molding. A brush with almost no paint on it, dragged lightly across the peaks, creates depth and makes it look like the frame has genuine history. It takes about 2 minutes and adds what I would call about $200 of perceived value. Wipe down each piece with a dry cloth before moving to assembly. Assembling the frame onto the mirror. Now for the satisfying part. Lay your mirror flat on a soft surface so it does not slide around. Apply your mirror-safe silicone adhesive or construction adhesive along the back flat edge of each molding piece, the part that will sit on top of the mirror's front face. Press each piece firmly into place, starting with the 2 long sides, then fitting in the 2 short sides. At each miter corner where wood meets wood, apply a small amount of regular wood glue and press those joints tightly together. Use painter's tape wrapped firmly around each corner to hold everything in place while it dries. Let the whole assembly sit undisturbed for at least 2 hours, but ideally overnight. The mirror-safe adhesive needs that full cure time to create a bond strong enough to hold the weight of the molding against the glass long term. If any corner feels a little loose even after curing, a tiny drop of super glue at the joint, held for 60 seconds, will lock it permanently. The finishing trick that changes everything. Okay, here's the part one told you to stay for, and I meant it. Once everything is fully dry and looking great, take a piece of your 220 grit sandpaper and very lightly, barely touching the surface, sand the highest raised points of your molding profile. Just the peaks, not the valleys. This knocks off just a little of the top paint layer and creates a natural wear pattern that makes the frame look genuinely aged rather than freshly painted. If you painted in bronze or gold, this will reveal a slightly lighter undertone that reads like authentic patina. If you painted black, it will reveal the wood grain in just the right spots. This one detail is what separates a DIY mirror from a mirror that looks like it came from an artisan shop. After dry sanding, use a soft cloth to buff the whole frame in small circular motions. It will come alive right in front of you. Adding hanging hardware the right way. Flip your mirror face down on a folded towel so you do not scratch the glass or your new frame. Now here is something important that most tutorials gloss over. Standard cove and bead trim molding is thin and narrow, which means screwing D-ring hangers directly into it risks splitting the wood or having the screws pull out under the combined weight of the molding and the glass, especially on a wall. You have 2 safe options. Option 1 is to use heavy-duty adhesive mirror hangers, the kind rated for the full weight of your mirror. These go directly onto the back of the glass and are specifically designed for this situation. Option 2, if you prefer wire hanging, is to cut a small piece of thin plywood or hardboard that spans the back of the frame and glue it across the top third of the mirror back, then attach your D-ring hangers to that backing piece. The backing spreads the load across the whole structure rather than concentrating it on a tiny strip of soft trim wood. Whichever method you choose, test it by lifting the mirror before you ever put it on a wall. Where and how to hang it for maximum impact. Placement matters just as much as the mirror itself. In 2026, the most common hanging mistake is going too high. The center of your mirror should sit roughly at eye level, which for most people is around 57 to 60 inches from the floor to the center of the piece. If you are hanging it above a console table or dresser, leave about 6 to 8 inches of breathing room between the top of the furniture and the bottom of the mirror. Group it with a small vase or a lit candle on the surface below, and suddenly you have a full-styled vignette, not just a mirror on a wall. For maximum impact, position your mirror so it reflects something beautiful, a window, a plant, a lamp. A mirror that bounces natural light makes a room feel bigger and brighter. That is not just a styling tip, that is functional interior design working in your favor. Let us be real for a second. You started with a $5 frameless mirror that looked like it belonged in a storage unit. You measured, cut, sanded, painted, and assembled your way to something that genuinely looks like a designer piece. The active working time is maybe 2 to 3 hours, with drying and curing time overnight. The total cost stayed under $35. And the result is a mirror that anchors a wall, reflects your taste, and tells a story about your space. That is what DIY in 2026 is really about. Not just saving money, but creating things that carry meaning because you made them yourself. If you made it this far, thank you genuinely, because that tells me you are serious about making your home feel like yours without overspending. If you try this project, I want to see it. Drop a photo in the comments or tag me, because seeing what this community builds is honestly my favorite part of making these videos. If this helped you, please give it a thumbs up because it signals YouTube to put this in front of more people who are out here trying to make beautiful things on a real budget. Subscribe if you have not yet because I post new home upgrade projects every single week, and next week we are doing something with thrifted frames that is going to completely change how you look at secondhand finds. I will see you in the next one.